All right, we have to talk about some big breaking news. President Trump has just brokered a peace deal, and he's about to sign the final bit of it. And so we're going to go over the truth post he posted. There's been a lot of speculation on this being finalized, what the terms are, but it's been done. He's just said it, and there's a lot of implications as it relates to the current takedown of the deep state order. I've talked about how it relates to the Q post and trying to understand what's going on in terms of interpreting the times. So let's get into it. Let's talk about some implications, some big picture stuff, and how it relates to what he just mentioned. So let's get into it. So first, let me get into what he actually posted. Here in a truth post from a few hours ago, he said Iran must agree that they will never have a nuclear weapon or bomb. The Hormuz Strait must be immediately open. No tolls for unrestricted shipping traffic in both directions. All water mines, bombs, if any, will be terminated. We have removed through detonation numerous such mines with our great underwater mine sweepers. Iran will complete the immediate removal and or detonation of any mines that are left, which will not be many. Ships caught in the strait due to our amazing and unprecedented naval blockade, which will now be lifted, may start the process of heading home. Say hello to your wives, husbands, parents, and families from me, your favorite president. The enriched material, sometimes referred to as nuclear dust, which is buried deep underground with virtually collapsed mountains caused by our powerful B-2 bomber attack 11 months ago, sitting on top of it will be unearthed by the United States, which it is agreed is the only country along with China with the mechanical capability of doing so in close coordination and conjunction with the Islamic Republic of Iran, plus the International Atomic Energy Agency, and destroyed. No money will be exchanged until further notice. Other items of far less importance have been agreed to. I will be meeting now in the Situation Room to make a final determination. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So essentially all of the non-negotiables that Trump has previously mentioned have been agreed to, including never obtaining a nuclear weapon, the Strait of Hormuz being unrestricted without tolls or any of that, that they clear the naval mines, and that the blockade, the U.S. Navy blockade, will be lifted. And then, of course, the nuclear material, the nuclear dust being excavated and destroyed. And then, as previously mentioned, I've talked about this, a third-party international organization will come and evaluate the actual isotopes, verify the origins and all of the data about the nuclear dust, the uranium, and all of this, as I've said in previous videos, is to prove that Obama and many of the deep state have funded this for Iran. And remember, this is what President Trump said the other day in the cabinet meeting, where it got everybody riled up in terms of what he's talking about.
We might not be here talking about it right now. They would have had a nuclear weapon. And frankly, Obama picked the wrong country. He should have picked another country. I won't tell you what it was. But he picked the wrong country when he picked Iran. But we have things understood now with Iran. It's been nasty. They've lost their leaders. They've lost.
Again, he mentioned that he should have picked another country, and I've gone over this, where he went and sent pallets of cash. Trump has talked about this, and he sold out the country to equip a foreign nation to be used as a proxy army for destruction of relevant proximity countries that they wanted to continue to fund. So we'll talk about this here in a second. And remember, this was only days ago where President Trump tweeted this, where he wanted and required the Middle East countries to sign on to the Abraham Accords. He's requiring that all of the big countries, including Saudi Arabia and Qatar, to sign into this, which is a big, big deal. Now listen to what he had to say about that when somebody asked about this.
Would you accept an agreement with Iran that just calls for further talks on the uranium? Or
No.
The only option?
No, the basics. No, I would for some of it, because it's a memorandum of understanding for speed. One of the things that will happen is the strait will open immediately. But it's got to be perfect. I'm not going to do this. I didn't do this to get a crummy agreement. The worst agreement ever signed was by Barack Hussein Obama. What a horrible agreement that was. It was a setback for this country, for the whole world. The Middle East would have blown itself up. No, I would like to have the countries we were talking about, with Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and the others, we'd like to have them immediately join and Steve Witkoff is working on that with Jared and some others, but would like to have them join the Abraham Accords. It'll be historic if they do it. And I think they owe that to us, to be honest. I think, because that really would be a tremendous sign. And I think those countries owe it to us. Steve, are you going to get them to sign?
We're definitely pushing it, Mr. President.
I'm not sure we should make the deal if they don't sign. You want to know the truth. If they don't sign to join the Abraham Accords, I don't know that we have countries in there already. UAE, great countries, bold countries. And it's turned out to be so good, so effective. And so we're, requesting strongly that they join. It'll be great. It'll be great for Saudi Arabia. It'll be great for Qatar and Kuwait, the whole group.
So the Iran deal might be contingent on more countries joining.
I don't know. I don't want to say that. I'm not going to give you, what's contingent, what's not. I can say that we can make a good deal right now, but maybe not a great deal. And if it's not a great deal, we're not making it. So because we can make a great deal with this guy right here, and but it's it's a lot nastier. Probably wouldn't go as quickly. We wouldn't be talking about as quickly, but it would be foolproof. But I think we're doing very well, Steve. I think we're doing pretty well in terms of the negotiation, but we'll see.
Now, listen to what he says there. He says that they owe it to us. Remember, I've talked about how the deep state, one of the big legs, the House of Saud, was removed from Saudi Arabia post-Trump being elected the first term. And that was a huge deal with regard to the power balance being removed and the Middle East continuing to have a relinquishment of this terrorist sort of influence. And people can live, in some sense, at peace. And of course, there's religious disagreements and all of that, but we'll get to that at some point. But the radical Islamism, some of the radical thinking has been, in some sense, controlled and removed, and it's being worked on. Now, if you remember, the Abraham Accords were first signed on September 15, 2020. This was first agreed to by Israel, the UAE, and Bahrain, and then shortly after, Morocco, Sudan, and Kazakhstan signed on. But now, with all the other countries in the area, it's going to be a big deal when they agree to trade, peace, and other agreements because, again, it's been rocky to say the least. And that reminds me of post 4724, where a day after September 16, 2020, Q posted, "Why did it take an outsider to finally deliver the start of peace in the Middle East? Why did it take an outsider to finally start the peace in the Middle East? News coverage, front pages, missile strikes attempt to terminate, peace doesn't sell, war, fear in brackets does, money, 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 evil and corruption at highest levels." Now here it's talking about that they want to be in a perpetual cycle of making money. This is, again, from a top-down, big-picture, deep state perspective. They don't care about certain individuals. They want money. The war, the fear sells. And if in the Middle East you have this sort of juxtaposition of religious and other countries, especially with Israel being vastly different from other Arabic or Islam-focused countries, then you're going to have this constant tension, especially if you root it in from culture and from birth to a lot of the citizens, the people that are living there. And if this is countered or rebutted with peace, it's going to fundamentally change some of the ways that people can coexist and live with each other, especially perspective and culture. And then, of course, several days later in post 4738, September 20th, 2020, Q also mentions, along with the lockdown and some of the stuff back in that time, also reminding us, why did it take an outsider to finally deliver the start of peace in the Middle East? Why did it take an outsider to finally deliver the start of finally holding China accountable? The disease called corruption running red. Again, corruption, sellouts. And then post 4753, a little bit less relevant, but again, ties into the bigger picture. This is President Trump tweeting before his first term, December 11th, 2015, saying, "Dopey Prince, Al-Lead Talal wants to control our U.S. politicians with daddy's money. Can't do it when I get elected. Trump 2016. Now this, again, we know that this person was removed after the Las Vegas shootings and the failed attempt to take Mohammed bin Salman's life in Saudi or in Las Vegas, but of Saudi Arabia. He took over. A lot of the power people at that time was removed, and then you've got this clean sort of third leg that was removed, the House of Saud. And so I've talked about this before. This is big. And so this is why with the last bit of deep state proxy left there after Saudi Arabia, the House of Saud, and then now with Iran being freed from this deep state control and the regime change and everything that's being done to finalize that part of the world, we are seeing truly what's coming out of it. And so this Q post 4748, I'm going to read this, but this reminds us of what we are dealing with. And you have to remember big picture, culture, and what this spiritual battle is from a God versus Satan perspective. And again, evil is still rampant, running rampant in this world because we have a fallen, sinful nature until Christ comes back. But listen to what 4748 says. The same people who control the media are the same people who are part of an evil and corrupt system of control, crimes against humanity. You are not meant to think for yourself. You are meant to challenge their power, control, obey, and accept. Illusion of democracy, illusion of freedom. Why does the media push division? Why does the media incite violence? Why does the media pit race versus race? Why does the media pit religion versus religion? Why does the media pit sex versus sex? Why does the media pit class versus class? Divided you're weak, divided you fight each other, divided you pose no threat to their system of control. Unity is strength, unity is power, unity is humanity. Controlled media plays a major role in shaping the narratives to keep you powerless, helpless, and asleep, unaware of the truth. Enemy of the people, enemy of humanity. Q. Now, whether this is in America or across the world, the same thing is happening. If media or somebody tells you to hate somebody, to fight somebody, and that there's no peace, there's no unity, then you're going to have this evil running rampant. Now, I also want to read post 4545 because this gives context to the whole thing, just big picture. Humanity is good, but when we let our guard down, we allow darkness to infiltrate and destroy. Like past battles fought, we now face our greatest battle at present, a battle to save our republic, our way of life, and what we decide. Each of us now will decide our future. Will we be a free nation under God, or will we cede our freedom, rights, and liberty to the enemy? We all have a choice to make. Evil, darkness has never been so exposed to light. They can no longer hide in the shadows. Our system of government has been infiltrated by corrupt and sinister elements. Democracy was almost lost forever. Thank HRC, meaning Hillary Rodham Clinton, install 2+ Supreme Court justices, 200+ judges, rogue elements, expanded inside DOJ, FBI, CIA, NSA, White House, state, removal, Second Amendment, border, etc. America for sale. And this is important here. China, Russia, Iran, Syria, ISIS, and Al-Qaeda expansion serve of domestic surveillance of domestic citizens, modify/change voter rules and regulations, allow illegals plus ballot harvesting with Supreme Court-backed liberal social opinion, sell-off of military to highest bidder to fight internal long-standing wars. Their thirst for a one world order, destruction of national sovereignty, serves to obtain control over America and her allies. Think EU by diluting your vote to oblivion and installing a new one world ruling party. The start of this concept began with organizations such as World Health Organization, World Trade Organization, United Nations, ICC, NATO, etc., all meant to weaken the United States. Also, the formation of EU through threat, con of close proximity attack. Attack on one is an attack on all. Sales pitch to general public, fear, control. EU did each member nation cede sovereignty to Brussels. EU, each member must implement EU rules and regulations in all areas. Think immigration, currency, overall control. Their thirst to remove your ability to defend yourself serves to prevent an uprising to challenge their control. Their fundamental reason why our enemies dare not to attack, invade our borders, armed citizenry. If America falls, so does the world. If America falls, darkness will soon follow. Only when we stand together, only when we are united can we defeat this highly entrenched dark enemy. Their power and control relies heavily on an uneducated population, a population that trusts without individual thought, a population that obeys without challenge, a population that remains outside of free thought and instead remains isolated, living in fear inside of the closed-looped echo chamber of the controlled mainstream media. That is not about politics. This is about preserving our way of life and protecting the generations that follow. We are living in biblical times. Children of light versus children of darkness, united against the invisible enemy of all humanity. Q. Now realize that this is the bigger sort of big picture in terms of if you want to look at it spiritually or with regard to how the deep state, the big guys think. They want to rule. They want, and I've said this before, Trump, Xi, Putin, many people, many countries, they don't want centralization. That is going to expedite this one world order, this in ushering in of the Antichrist. But really, they want geographic localization. They want countries to have sovereignty over their own area and to be able to live in harmony and trade with each other, and to make sure that they are, in some sense, watching or being accountable to each other, but not exerting control, and more importantly, not having this division and this hate. And so this is why President Trump is trying to broker more Middle East countries into the Abraham Accords so that they could future-proof, in some sense, the anti-Israel or the hate and the extremism, the Islam extremism among certain terror groups and deep state-funded or backed organizations. And this is what happened with Iran. Obama and many others, they brought in this nuclear capability to arm them to be used as a proxy army to allow destabilization, or to allow, in some sense, blackmail to other countries, other people in the region. And that's why the Strait of Hormuz was so important for allowing freedom for many nations, so that you can see a lot of that being relinquished, that power, that threat that was hanging over them, these countries, to be relinquished. So we're seeing that cleanup happening right now. We're seeing Trump trying to get the countries into the accords. And also, with this new latest update, this is going to allow a lot of things to happen as we move forward. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Also, guys, I really need your support. You guys know we're going through a difficult transition season. A lot is happening behind closed doors, a lot of my ministry, many other things. If you guys want to help me and support me through prayer or financially, would love that. All that information is down below in the link, givesendgo.com/Chrisyoonyt. Also have PayPal, Zelle, Venmo. Really need you guys' help. Love you guys. More to come. Talk to you guys very soon.